welcome to the show. I'm Eric Murphy. It is March 31st, 2024. I'm Eric Murphy. This is Skeptic Generation, and we need to talk. How's it going, everybody? There's a lot of stuff going on this weekend. So first off, happy Easter Sunday to those who are still celebrating it. I do want to talk about that a little bit, but also just as every year on Easter Sunday weekend, American Atheists is having their annual convention. So for those of you who are watching from AACon, I hope you guys are having a great time. Let's see. Also, happy Trans Day of Visibility. I've seen it be picked up on several days, and yeah, I'm glad. Have as many days as you can. I love it. So and then also, since it's March 31st, tomorrow's April 1st, and tomorrow's April Fools, which is funny that things are kind of converging around that point. When I was really, really active in atheist community building, a lot of people wanted April 1st to be Atheist Day, because in Psalms it says that the fool hath said in his heart there is no God. And so the idea that April Fool's Day could be a day that atheists somehow take back is a really interesting idea. Before I get into a couple of those topics, though, I do want to give the number. Looks like I've got a couple of callers on the line, but I'd love to get more. Our phone number, if you want to call in, you want to talk about what you believe and why, or any of these subjects, you can call 412-SKEPGEN. That's 412-753-7436. Or if you want that cleaner, crisper connection, you can call using your computer online. You can go to tiny.cc/SKEPGEN. That's tiny.cc/SKEPGEN. Yeah. So the question, a couple of them, but one of them is April Fool's Day a day that we should be calling Atheist Day? Is it something that we are taking for ourselves, or are we calling ourselves fools in the process of doing that? That's definitely a topic that I'm interested in talking about. Also, Easter Sunday. If you are a believer and you believe in the resurrection of Jesus, which is what this holiday celebrates, I want to know why. If you think there's a good reason, like today is the day, call, tell me, challenge me, and let's see if we can come up with some conclusions. I'm here to listen, and I'm ready to talk. And then, I think that's about it. It looks like we've already got calls that are ready to go. So how about I dive on in? Let's start out by talking to Evan in Washington.
All right.
Hey, Evan, you are live. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Eric. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm just putting your stuff in the lower third, and I'll be ready to go. What did you want to talk about today?
Actually, I think SR and I are both a little surprised I wasn't meant to come on, but I'm happy to.
You were not meant to come on? Oh,
correct. A couple weeks we tried to connect on Discord, and I am embarrassed to admit that I am exceedingly illiterate when it comes to apps like that, and I was barely able to even get the thing loaded. My son actually loaded it on.
Hey, no worries.
Anyways.
So I just got a message from SR, who is screening calls, that nope, Evan did not want to be on the show. Evan, I apologize. I'll pop you back into the queue and grab the next person. Hopefully I'll see you in the Discord after show if you can get there.
Absolutely. Hey, I really appreciate your work. I really do, and I hope I didn't cause a hitch in the show today.
No, you're good. You're good. That's funny. All right, pal, I'll pop you back in the queue. Okay. That said, let's move on to our next caller. I have Aaron from Seattle. Oh, I think Aaron is not yet ready. So let me give that just a minute to finish going. Oh, no. Okay, Aaron from Seattle, call back. You want to talk about objective morality, and I am here for it. That said, we may have had just like a hiccup that has caused all of the calls to drop. So if you did want to talk about the resurrection of Christ, if you want to talk about atheists using April Fool's Day as Atheist Day, or whether or not we should use any of the other days that have been proposed. I know Atheist Republic has been pushing for Atheist Day on a specific day, which I've helped in the past, and I've definitely seen them doing a lot of good work. So I'm happy about that. Or if you just want to talk about the way that holidays like Easter have impacted you, and the way that you interact with your family, friends, or the way that you think that we should be interacting with this holiday. Those are all things that I'd be super, super interested in. I know that today, V and I are celebrating it just being a Sunday. And it's not necessarily because it's a holiday, but because we want to. I've got a nice big pork shoulder on the smoker that's been going since yesterday, and I'm going to be pulling it off this afternoon and having some really, really nice pulled pork. And it's going to be good. It's going to be really, really good, doing it Texas style. Let's see here. Oh, it looks like I have someone from England calling in. Let me put that in the lower third, and I will get going. Give me just one moment. Oh. So I have Vincent from the UK. I hope SR doesn't mind. I am grabbing him.
Oh.
Hi, Vincent.
Hi.
Hi.
Oh, I was just in the call screening room, and you've taken me straight through.
I stole you. I apologize. I had a big drop, and I had several callers that all dropped out, and I didn't want people to wait while I was trying to vamp. I hope that's okay.
Nah, that's more than fine. More than
Good. So, Vincent, I have your pronouns as he, they?
That's correct, yep.
Okay, let me get your lower third up here. Vincent, what do you want to talk about today? And SR, I apologize. I hope you understand.
That's okay. Well, I can't speak for him, but imposter syndrome. Mm-hmm. I can't remember when exactly I heard you say this, but I remember on the last series you said that you were dealing with imposter syndrome, or something that you've felt in the past.
Oh, absolutely.
And, yeah, and it's something that I used to really suffer with, and 'cause I used to do martial arts, and I did it for sort of like 10 years, and people were like, oh, Vincent's really good, go and get help with Vincent if you need to do something. And I'm like, why are you telling them to come to me for help? I don't know what I'm doing either.
Yeah.
And so it was something that I always struggled with. And unfortunately, I used my Google Fu to sort of look at imposter syndrome, see what I could find. And there was a story from Neil Gaiman. Who wrote a lot of books with Terry Pratchett, and I'm sure I've heard you talk about him in the past as well.
Oh, Neil Gaiman's amazing.
And there's a story.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he said that he suffered with it, and I'm like, how can you suffer with it? You've written some amazing books. And one of his, and again, this is just a story that he said, but he went to a posh party where there was lots of famous, important people like scientists and lots of cool work. And he saw an old man sitting in the corner, and he's like, oh, I've always wanted to speak to him. I'll go and say hello. And he goes and says hello to the old man, and he introduces himself as Neil, and the old man goes, oh, I'm a Neil as well. And the guy's like, yes, I know. And they
Neil Armstrong, wasn't it?
Talk a little bit. Yeah, you've heard the story. And eventually it's, the old man says, everyone here's so fantastic. I'm just a guy that went where he was told to go. And Neil Gaiman goes, yeah, but you were the first man on the moon. And that's sort of like, to me, that's like, is it just a human condition that we're all going to have imposter syndrome at some point? And it's not actually wrong to feel this way? And I think that's the thing that I got with imposter syndrome. It was like, I felt wrong to feel that way, when actually now I'm like, it's okay to feel this way. It's okay to be skeptical about your own confidence level in what you can do.
Yeah.
So
oh, absolutely.
Wondered if that was something that, yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. I mentioned, I think either it was last week or the week before, that I'm going to start going into doing coaching and consulting for people who want to start their own YouTube channels and podcasts. And it's interesting. I've already gotten a bunch of emails from people who are interested. And sitting back, I think about it and I go, well, I didn't go to school for this. But at the same time, the nature of media that I'm in is one that if I had gotten a college education 10 years ago, 15 years ago, it wouldn't have helped me very much at this point. Not only that, but, you know, I've thought about it, and actually my partner V has really helped me out. We've talked about things like helping people set up their studio space. And I'm like, oh yeah, no, I can help people. And he's like, yeah, people really, really need that information. And sitting back, they're like, Eric, if you created a course for how to set up and do all of the technical, like physical stuff to make a show happen, what would that require? And I thought about it, and I don't think that I could make a course less than an hour and a half to 2 hours long. And that's just if I cover the very, very basics of this stuff. And so, yeah, no, I'm right there with you. You know, when you sit down and you kind of lay it out and you go, no, I have a lot to add, but at the same time, it's weird. It's weird to recognize that you have that value, you know?
And I think the thing as well is, if you do a course, reading about the subject is one thing, but actually doing it and getting that first-hand experience. I'm terrible at reading. I'm slightly dyslexic. I have other issues as well. I'm not going to go into it. But like, to actually, for me to go and do something and actually get tactile and actually get involved is a lot easier for me to learn. Learn by doing rather than just reading the book.
Yeah.
And I think it's recognizing that everyone has different ways of learning. Definitely.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I still have, speaking of V just came in and handed me a fresh cup of coffee. I am like the luckiest. Give me just a second. I'm going to take a sip.
Yeah. My name is also, although I've put Vincent on the lower third, my name's also Vi, V-I. So I go by slightly different name, but I thought I'd do Vincent to just differentiate myself
from my partner.
So it's easier to understand. Yeah.
Oh, that's very cool. Well, Vi, it is really nice to meet you.
I didn't want you to suddenly go, wait, Vi's in England? What's she doing over there?
Yeah. Well, they will be in a couple of weeks. But
where are they going?
What
part of the UK are they going to?
I don't know if I'm allowed or if that would be doxing where they're going to be. But if you have not checked out V on social media, if they are going to do something, they would definitely announce it on Twitter or Instagram for sure. I believe V's Twitter handle is @authorconfusion.
I've come off Twitter due to the person that owns it.
Yeah. I feel you. V's also on Instagram. I don't do it very much on social media. I just too many death threats. I got pretty quick. Doing this atheist stuff can really put a target on you. So
yeah. It's something that I've thought about doing in the past, and I'm just like, no, I couldn't handle the threats and stuff. It's something that I don't think there's a lot of people in the UK doing stuff, so it's like
it's okay. And yeah, some of the bad stuff can really kind of get you down. But it totally just depends on how you approach it. You know, for me personally, I'm honestly looking for what I agree with. You know, if somebody says a thing was bad and they're right, then I'll pop in and I'll reply, you know what, you're absolutely right. This thing was bad. Or Eric should have done better if I think I should have done better. Or if somebody wants to hold me to a higher standard than I'm holding myself, that just makes me want to be better, you know? And so I'll say, you know, I'll cop to that. If somebody says I hate his voice, I do too, you know?
I hate my own voice as well.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It doesn't it doesn't need to be a personal thing.
I think that's just a normal thing as well. Like imposter syndrome, I think it's just what some people are like as humans. I mean, this is going into sort of part of my issues anyway, but I always used to be very wary of confident people because I weren't able to confidence and arrogance. I used to get quite mixed up between the two, and I couldn't figure out if someone was being arrogant and over confident and just confident. And that used to sort of like, I used to be very wary of the sort of people that were over themselves.
Well, you know, that is an interesting topic. Before we get into it, I do just want to plug the phone number really quick because out of the callers that we had on the line, it might have been my internet, but a bunch of people dropped out, and I want to make sure that I have other callers to go to after you. So let me just announce 412-SKEPGEN. That's 412-753-7436. If you want to talk about what you believe and why, you have a question, want to talk about atheist issues, Easter, April Fool's Day, anything like that, today is the day to call in. It's sincerely appreciated. Okay, getting back to it. Vincent, go ahead.
And because I've just said about this, and this is, again, where my head is, if they hung up because of my voice, this is a call to everyone else to get on the phone lines so that you don't have to keep hearing my voice.
You've got a nice voice. No, no, Vincent, or Vi, one of the interesting things about that whole, confusing confidence for arrogance is I think honestly for me it's part of my indoctrination that I still have internalized and I'm still working on. Because for me, I think that when I view someone who is confident as arrogant, it's because I have still put a high price on or high value on humility. And being humble doesn't help get people where they want to go most of the time. You know, it's something that most of the time I'm only ever patting myself on the back for, nobody else is. It prevents people from getting the jobs that they want to get. Because, you know, how are they going to know you're doing a great job if you never bring it up because you're being too humble? You put other people in front of yourself, and they're the ones who get the promotions, right? And then also, I think it was Nietzsche who said that humility is a virtue for the poor. Right? If you are in poverty, if you are in need, if you are not part of a ruling class, then viewing yourself as humble as a good thing can make you feel superior when you are under the boot of someone else. But that same humility is not held in such high regard by those classes that are in charge. And so what is it but a kind of a self... It is us keeping ourselves down and then making ourselves feel good about it by calling it humility. It's interesting, but at the same time, I've spent a lot of time around narcissists, and I just absolutely can't stand it. People think that they know way more than they do, so it's kind of both, you know.
My dad,
mine too. Hey, all right.
So I've been in therapy. So I had a mental health breakdown about 5 years ago, and I sort of lost my job, my house.
Oh, jeez.
I moved to, I don't want to dox myself, but I moved to the bigger city near where I lived because I felt I was bullied quite a lot at school, and always liked to hide away. And in a big crowd of people, it's easier for me to hide away than with lots of people that are there. Again, the overconfident, they're making all the noise, they're making all the distractions. I can hide away and just keep to myself, sort of thing. I find that a lot easier in a big city than a small town where I was living. And during therapy, obviously, like, parents come up, and while back when I was a kid, thinking that my dad was a good man, turned out there was a lot of mental abuse and things you shouldn't say to kids, and just, it's like, oh shit, my childhood wasn't as good as what I thought. Yeah. And now I've not spoken to my dad for like a year. I've not seen him for a year and a half. I
will tell you right now.
Sorry.
No. I just want to like affirm and reflect that back at you. I'm 36. I haven't spoken to my dad since I was 22. Beyond that
horrible age this year.
Go ahead.
I'm that horrible age this year. I'm turning 40, and I'm still.
Oh, that's a brutal one.
I'm still mentally 18. Like, all the music I listened to when I was 18 is still there. All the comedy that I like is still there.
You say that until you hang out with 18-year-olds. You say that until you hang out with 18-year-olds, and you're like, oh no, get me out of here. Yeah. No, I even went a step further. My name, I was not born Eric Murphy. Yeah, my birth name, I'm going to dox myself like crazy here. I was born Eric Townend. And I did not want to carry that name for a minute longer. And so I changed my name to my adoptive family just so I didn't need to keep that name. So, like, I get it. And talking about it, especially as an atheist on the internet, in public, in the public eye, the idea of having parental issues is often used to dismiss atheists. Oh, you don't actually have good reasons. You just have daddy issues. Yeah, you're angry at your earthly father, and so you're rejecting your eternal father. And
as someone else has recently said, I'm unashamed now to his point, daddy, spiritual or otherwise. I don't care about what either daddy said. Yeah,
it's, I don't know. It's the position we find ourselves in, I guess. But Vincent, go ahead.
Just a quick one. I was the person in chat who last series said about polyamory being that this person is my sword, this person is my shield, this person is my spear.
Nice.
And it's within the last 5 years that I've sort of come out as polyamorous, and I'm now sort of come out as pan as well. So
hey, the water's nice. The water is nice, and the board games are fun. I promise.
Yeah, and I've been to a couple of poly meets in the city where I live, and like everyone there is fantastic. It's amazing. It's like a second family, and they're much better.
So
much better for my mental health. So
I love that. I haven't done it yet. I have not wanted to connect with the poly scene in Portland because I've heard horror stories. And I'm so nervous about it because, I've heard some absolutely wild things.
I've heard horror stories as well about different places, and I'm like, oh, do I want to do this or not?
Right.
And
but you had a good experience.
Oh yeah, the people running it are fantastic. I think it was the third, and I'm going to apologise for a lot of the people watching now. This is sort of like probably going to go over a load of their heads, but there were some people unicorn hunting.
Hey!
And,
yep.
And the admins came and quickly shut them down and said, don't come back, leave now. And I was just like, yes, bye.
Good. I love to hear that. Yeah, I need to connect. I need to. I'm just nervous too, but I'll make the jump.
It's good if you find a good amount of people. So I've heard there's a couple of groups around where I live, and obviously this is one of them. So it's always good to get out there and even if you just go for that one-off and just say, yeah, you're all great, but I'm just too busy at the moment. That's fine to do.
Yeah. Fine, Vi. Fine. I'll give it a try.
Yep.
Anyway, I actually, Vi, I don't have any other callers. This might be a short show. So I am going to let you go because I don't want this call to be longer than it needs to, but I'm going to vamp for a bit and hopefully more people will call in.
Well, have a good night, Eric, and I hope to ring again at some point. I just need to find a good topic. But it's taken me since the last show to bring up imposter syndrome, so
I appreciate that.
It's a while for me to bring up the energy.
Hey, well, I thank you. Thank you for that.
No worries, buddy.
Have a good rest of your day.
Night.
You too. Bye.
Bye.
That's nice. I definitely need to get involved in the poly space. I just getting the nerve to do it has been the issue for me. So I know I'll get there eventually. But let's see. Let me check the live chat and see if there's anything else. And if we don't get a caller in a reasonable amount of time, then I'll probably wind up wrapping up early today. I hope I don't have to. Let's see. Neil, the 604 Atheist. Hey. Happy to see you here and hope everything is doing well. Haven't talked to you in a long time. I have people who are, let's see. Talking about how they've also, some people have had to go no contact with their families as well. Totally get it. You're not alone and you got to do what's right for you. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about the subject. What is unicorn hunting? That's going to be fun in the live chat. So in the meantime, until I get a call, I want to talk a bit about Atheist Day and April Fools. Are we fools? Should we be taking April 1st as Atheist Day? I know that I've seen a lot of arguments for and against it. The people who are for it state that, they're kind of taking that back in a way, that they're utilizing the imagery that Christians are already creating and taking the teeth out of it by claiming it for themselves. It's definitely interesting. But at the same time, you have, a large contingent of people who did not grow up religious, who do not know Psalms that well and do not know that particular passage. And what if they are looking at atheist groups going, why are you labeling yourselves fools? I'd be interested in what people have to say. I really would. Also, Easter is one of the few holidays that I don't really celebrate. For some reason, it's too tied to the Christian history that I have and my growing up and indoctrination. And so I know that I try to pull as many holidays as I can for myself. But I just have trouble doing it for Easter. I think the only thing I really do for Easter is get Cadbury cream eggs because I'm addicted to those things. But for those of you who are celebrating Easter, how does that feel, especially now that you've moved away from your religion? That is something that I am very, very interested in hearing about. I've got one other caller, and so I'm going to get things ready to pull them on, and we will grab them in just a second. All right, SR, I am sincerely apologetic. I hate pulling them before you're ready, but I'm going to grab them because I don't have anyone to talk to right now. So we're going to be taking a regular who I know I just pulled you away from SR, and I apologize for that. Philosophistry, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing good. Philosophistry, what are your pronouns?
He, him.
He, him. Usually the call screener grabs that, but I grabbed you before they could. So, and I have you in Wisconsin?
Yep.
All right. Thank you for calling in. I did not want to end the show yet, so I'm glad that you're here. What do you want to talk about?
Yeah, so I'm curious, is there a way to do blasphemy and other things to talk with Christians or to get them to question their beliefs without being abusive about it?
What do you mean?
So, like, if you go online and you post anti-Christian things, so let's say you were making fun of Easter, like, haha, dead guy on a stick day or something like that.
Yeah, happy zombie
right?
Jesus Day.
Right, stuff like that. Is that abusive on its face, or are we just allowed to criticize the ideas? And when they call it abusive, do we need to, as atheists, not that we're some homogenous group, but let's say we're trying to advance the cause of atheism, if that even really makes sense. Kind of doesn't. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
If you're trying to make space for atheists in spaces, do we need to shy away from these things because they get offended by them?
What's your take on it first? Because I worry I may influence you. How are you approaching it currently for yourself?
I don't shy away from criticizing anything. And I will be both mocking about it and non-mocking about it. I will have the genuine conversation until they start saying I'm dishonest or have a reprobate mind or something like that.
Oh my gosh, a reprobate mind. I haven't heard that in a while. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, just let me go ahead.
So I'm happy to both make the mockery of it and have the genuine conversation. But I'm only going to have the genuine conversation until they start doing the disingenuous stuff, right?
Yeah.
So the reprobate mind, or you'll never understand it because you have to have faith to understand it, and then I'm like, I have to have faith to understand faith. Yeah, okay, So. Yeah, I'm basically I'm all in on the willingness to mock the ideas, and I don't start calling them morons until they do something that is like a personal attack against my character or my mental capacity or something like that.
Okay, that's a decent line to draw. I mean, personally, someone's feelings. When you're talking about your feelings, you move away from talking about, true things about the world. You move away from talking about the axioms that you value or the epistemic grounding you have for the things that you believe. People can have their feelings hurt for what can be viewed as good or bad reasons, but the fact is, you can't deny that someone is feeling a certain way, If someone is upset, we can talk about whether or not they're justified in being upset or, based on whatever our rationale is. But you have to understand that that person is upset regardless of whether or not they're upset for a good reason. And so because of that, I don't want to moderate myself based on whether or not I'm hurting the feelings of somebody incidentally, because that's just is what it is, But I do take into account my audience, right? If I'm talking to a friend or a family member who's still a believer and I want to maintain that relationship, then I'll either say, hey, I don't want to talk about this so that I don't get into that place. Or if I do, I definitely treat it with kid gloves because I value the relationship more than I do necessarily needing to win that conversation. That said, I'm grateful for the real angry atheists, because I think we need all types. Personally, I try to be empathetic while I can be, and I'll lose my shit if I really, if something gets really under my skin. But I think you really have to work for it and deserve it for me to yell at you, But I don't know. I think that it takes all types because people learn for different reasons. I've talked to a lot of people when I was at the ACA who said that they got so angry watching the shows that they wanted to prove us wrong. And so in looking up, how to prove us wrong, they found out that they didn't have as good a justification for their faith as they thought. And so I've seen that. And I've also had people reach out to me personally and say, hey, I never would have watched these conversations between Christians and atheists because it's way too contentious. And, you get frustrated, you get upset, you clam up, you shut things out, and you never really get the chance to examine them critically. But in listening and having an open mind and meeting people where they are, I've had a lot of people reach out and tell me, hey, I've been able to deconstruct my faith because of the empathetic approach that you have. So it's both. It's both, at least for me. But blasphemy is a really interesting word that you used. Should we blaspheme? So when you say blaspheme, are you specifically talking about using God's name in vain, or are you talking about sinning in general? What do you mean?
So when I say blasphemy, what I'm referring to is essentially just mocking any given belief that they would have, specifically talking about it with the intent to make a mockery of it because I don't believe in a God. So if they say obviously the resurrection is a good one, right? So you say that it's blasphemy to say Zombie Jesus Day?
Mm-hmm.
Happy Zombie Day?
Sure.
Sure. So me too. And
Okay.
to me, saying that, the only reason why I would say that is to specifically make a mockery of the belief. But the reason why it's important that we're able to make a mockery of the belief is because here in the U.S., at least, it's kind of a big deal that we have a lot of Christian nationalist activity.
Yeah, we do.
Globally, right, there are laws against blasphemy, and even in the U.S., there used to be laws against blasphemy. I don't know the full history of those laws or if they were ever actually used. I know they were used to put people in jail, but I don't know what the actual ultimate consequence of those laws was. But we have freedom of speech now, and we have the freedom to criticize ideas, and that's something that's firmly enshrined within our Constitution. And I personally feel like I need to take it upon myself to exercise that right until that right gets taken away, because that's kind of a canary in a coal mine type of situation, right?
Sure.
Should anybody actually be persecuted for exercising that right by others who think that just us exercising that right is persecution, then we have a real problem going on, because we are supposed to have that freedom of speech, freedom of ideas, the freedom to criticize ideas, even religious ones, even ones that people hold deep convictions around.
Yeah, well, and it's also enshrined in the doctrine, being an ex-Christian, and looking at what is in the Bible. You have more than just Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. You have all of these books afterward. And, reading what Paul, quote unquote, was saying about what people are going to face, the martyrdom of the apostles, and this kind of idea that everywhere you go, you are going to be made separate, and you are going to be discriminated against, is so deeply baked into the theology that, yeah, they have to do those kinds of backflips, even when they find that they're in a nation that is more Christian than not. And it's changing, but it's been that way for a very long time. Yeah, it is definitely an interesting narrative that they paint for themselves, for sure. But philosophistry, I'm in agreement. I don't think I have too much more to add. But yeah, I appreciate you, and I really appreciate you calling in. I got 3 more callers who came in the meantime, so you have saved my ass.
You see, sometimes when you say that, like, yeah, man, I don't have callers, I got to call in and see if maybe we can spark some drive.
You did great. Yep. I thank you for it.
Thanks.
It's always good talking to you. Have a good one. That's a nice guy. All right. Let's move on. Okay, why not? Ronnie in Washington. Hello?
Friend, Eric, buddy.
Hey! Doing good. This is so far afield from any kind of atheist skeptic stuff. You want to know what a unicorn is?
Yeah, I do, buddy. You're the one who would want for content, so I thought I'd call in. And I'm not familiar with this Reddit terminology. Maybe you could explain it to me.
Oh gosh. Okay. So.
My heart is old man, so please.
Yeah. So the first time that I interacted with the term, it was talking about, like, you have a het couple, man and woman, who are looking for a bi woman to have a threesome with. It's not specifically about, creating these meaningful relationships. It's not about, anything but using them physically.
I see. All right.
And they're treated like unicorns. And really, that term has been used to describe other people as well. But really, ultimately, what it is someone getting treated as a thing because they check the boxes than as a person that you want to have a relationship with. And it's really crummy.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. That seems rather crummy. Well, thank you for explaining that to me.
You're welcome. I thought that was a really funny topic. And go ahead.
I think I kind of have my head wrapped around that a little bit better, buddy. I appreciate it. And then also, the other thing I thought of just for content purposes is the April Fool's thing, which you already explained, which I was unfamiliar also previously.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that as well.
Absolutely. Thank you for calling in. Ronnie, it sounds like there's a lot of clicking on the line, so I'm probably going to go just because I know some people have trouble hearing it. But thank you for calling in. Really.
All right. Well, I'll catch you next time. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you too. Take care.
Bye.
What is a unicorn? If you don't ask, you're not going to find out. So I'm glad for that. Okay. Let's see here. Transvisibility Day. Let's talk about it. Ruby in Washington, you're live.
Hi, Eric.
Hey, I am just getting your name here.
I told you I was going to call in.
I sincerely appreciate it. Let me get you dialed in here. Ruby,
okay.
So it says you want to talk about the International Transvisibility Day.
Yes.
What's going on?
So the last time I talked to you, I wasn't Ruby, but now I am.
Well, it's nice to meet you, Ruby.
Nice to meet you, too. I still do the blacksmithing. Anyway.
Hey, nice.
Yay. So, the weird thing is, COVID happened, and I really got to thinking about it, and it's like I just took the step. And it's amazing people's reactions, because it's usually they either they hate you completely, or they grieve you as if you died,
Mm-hmm.
or they go, oh, it's okay, and they just wander away out of your life. It's really creepy.
Yeah.
And a guy I used to like, well, I hate to say it, several guys I used to be friends with, I kind of still like hate follow them on Facebook. I just a fly on their wall.
Oh no.
And it's just creepy on how much of Nazis they've turned into. And I hate to say that term, but it's like, it's literal Nazi rhetoric they're going on now. And it's like, they, you know, I didn't even know about the International Transgender Visibility Day. And it's like, oh, cool, it's going to happen. And then it's like, I wonder what they're going to say. And it was like every 30 minutes, some hateful thing about transgender people all day yesterday. And I'm sure they're going to do it today. And it's like, I want to understand why they do it, but it doesn't make any sense to me anyway.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, I mean, I feel like I need to dive backwards into kind of understanding
Sure.
my own ignorance and the journey that I took to get to where I'm at, to better understand and hopefully try and contextualize those people. And it is really, really frustrating. I'm sorry to hear that you lost so many friends. And it really, really sucks. One thing that does kind of make me smile is which day specifically is the International Day of Visibility, because people on TikTok have been saying Happy Trans Visibility Day for like a week.
yeah.
and I love that. I love that. People aren't pointing it out. It's just like, no, we're gonna. You know what? If we get a day, cool. We're just gonna keep saying, you know, happy Trans Visibility Day.
Scattershot it and hope we get it.
You know, yeah, and take as many. Honestly, if I could do that with my birthday, if I have a birthday week, people can have their damn week. Like, yes. So I think that's really, really funny. But you know, I feel like issues like this are generational. You know, and finding equality and finding less hate and bigotry feels like something that develops through generations. And I imagine the next generation is going to have an easier time of it so long as we keep fighting where we are now. But it's shitty. It's shitty. We're planting trees that we're not going to live to enjoy the shade of.
Yeah. Yeah. I did lose a lot of so-called friends, but like, I'm one of the few lucky ones because my spouse, we sort of came out together.
Hey, nice.
Because it was so funny. So they had gone through conversion therapy and were devout Christian way before back, you know, and then we lost our faith. And then it was like we both go, you know, I got these feelings. No, I got these feelings. And we just said, okay, fine. And we switched wardrobes and everything. It was so hysterical and cute.
I love that. All right. Oh, that's very
cool. And we're
cool.
much happier now. So it just worked out, you know?
Yeah.
I think we just found each other because we had that similar thing in the closet. And now that you're closer, we're gonna have to have events. You know, where
the eggs
guys are
saw
gonna
each
have
other.
to like invited to.
So it depends. How far into Washington are you?
Well, Yakima, Washington's up in Yakima County. So let's see, it's probably about a 3-hour drive.
So here's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking in the next couple of months, finding a reason to get up to Seattle If I got up to Seattle and made the announcement, would that be close enough to kind of meet?
Probably, because my partner's presently in Seattle because they're going blind and they're at blind school.
All right.
Yeah.
Sorry to hear that, but very cool, the blind school.
Oh yeah. No, he's learning on how to navigate and do Braille.
That's awesome.
And I'm going to talk to the board of the Yakima Pride there, and if you want to do a speaking thing, we might be able to arrange that. Just throwing a bug out.
That could be very, very fun. Yeah, keep in touch, and feel free to join us in the Discord as well. And this is true for everybody. I've been doing after shows, going into the Discord and just talking to people, and letting my hair down, so to speak. And I'd be happy to talk to you there too, Ruby. I always enjoy talking to you. I really appreciate it, and I'm happy to hear that you are taking steps to have your best life. Like, that makes me feel so good. I love it. Yeah. And fuck the haters. Fuck people who don't want to recognize that's bullshit.
I know. It's they kind of said, "Oh, that's kind of cool," but it's just really weird. It's like, "Hey, you want to go for nope. Nope." It's like they just find whatever reason to not interact with you anymore. It's really weird.
But maybe
I don't exactly blend. I'm
well,
a 6'5", trans woman.
So I think that when I first, I was in high school when my best friend in the world came out as trans. Yeah. And I remember being terrified that they were going to change so fundamentally that I wouldn't have my best friend anymore. And I can't speak for these other people, but what I can say is that sometimes it's a clean slate. Sometimes it's a place that since you're already building your foundations, having those people they don't necessarily need to be part of those foundations, or maybe they just get a different place, and that's okay.
And the person they knew was the mask, and when I dropped the mask, I don't think it made them comfortable.
Yeah. That's a good way of putting that. I get that.
Yeah.
Well, fuck them, and happy Trans Day of Visibility. Happy Zombie Jesus Day. Happy Atheist Day. I love that you're still doing blacksmithing. And go ahead.
Oh yeah. Oh, and I still do it with nails too, which freaks everyone out. They're like, "What?" No. Anyway, anyway, as I was going to say, when it comes to atheist thing too, thank you for coming back into the space and talking, because we need your voice more than ever. I think, the angry atheist thing that kind of seems to bleed out is just not. We need to go beyond that now. I think
you're right.
It's like, okay, we're here, but now we got to have real honest conversations now.
I think there's room for.
Where are we going to go?
I don't think we need to replace them, because I think there's definitely room for that. But
yes,
I definitely want to see these conversations had more. So I'm right there with you. I think there's a good reason to be doing this, and I'm happy to be doing it. And thank you for sticking with me through the journey.
Yes.
All right, Ruby.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I hope to see you in the live show afterward.
Yes.
All right.
I mean, I just like your previous caller, I am awful at Discord, but I will do my best. Link
is in the description, and good luck.
Okay, thank you so much. And have a good day, okay?
You too. What a sweetheart. I do not deserve the viewers that I have. I really don't. And I have a religious caller, says Theist, Jimmy in Texas. You are live. How's it going? Jimmy?
Are you talking to me?
Yes.
Yes. Hey,
Hey.
Eric, we've spoken before. I love what you do.
Oh, thank
I love
you.
who you are.
That makes one of us.
I love you, man.
Say again?
Uh, but what I wanted to ask you is, I've always told you, we've spoken about psychedelics before, and he told me, he's like, I just had enough. I took a, sub-threshold dose, but it was enough for me. And my contention with that was, if you really want to challenge your atheism, why don't you take a heroic dose?
Oh. So how would that challenge my atheism?
Well, all the studies shown, if you refer to Johns Hopkins, a lot of the peer-reviewed studies out of there, and they give atheists so-called heroic doses, they're no longer able to identify with atheism any longer. And, if you want to engage in that scenario,
Jimmy,
why don't you take?
I don't believe you. All of the studies that I've seen have to do with ego death. They have to do with how those things have impacted their depression, their anxiety, things like that. But I have not seen anything that says that heroic doses of a psychedelic cause people to not be atheists. So I don't believe that those studies are saying what you think they do. That said, I can give you a couple. Yeah, and I can give you a couple good reasons.
Okay, go ahead.
Sure. One of them is mental health. I'm assuming that you're a fan of psychedelics.
I'm not a fan. I just so happened to one day accidentally stumble upon them and realize this in myself. I was an atheist prior to this experience myself.
So number one, I would advise, and I hope that you also advise, no one should ever accidentally stumble into psychedelics. They should.
No, I would do that. I'm not trying to tell anyone willy-nilly to take psychedelics, right, especially if they're not within the right mindset to do so. And that's not my purpose.
Right, and clinical depression is something that I deal with, but also you probably also know that people with a genetic history of bipolar disorder or of
but you see, I think you're missing
those
the point
things. Those things can kick in.
Exceptions.
I don't think those are exceptions. I don't think those are exceptions for me. Because I think that if I'm going to make an informed choice, I need to understand what the likelihood is of me doing damage.
You think you're an exception?
I think that I have indicators that could get worse from it, unfortunately. And while
so you think you're an exception?
I guess and don't get me wrong, I think psychedelics are a lot of fun, but I also think that psychedelics are messing with your brain chemistry.
I think if you're
right?
painting them as a lot of fun, then you're missing the entire point. I don't think it's anything about fun.
Oh.
I think people take these things for spiritual purposes, and they look at ayahuasca, for instance.
Got it.
People go to
you know what, Jimmy?
People go to South Brazil, they end up vomiting and going diarrhea simultaneously.
Yeah, that's not fun.
That's not done.
Jimmy, you're absolutely right. I take that back. You're right. There are people who take psychedelics for their own spiritual, purposes. I personally, and I think that the evidence is got my back on this, that when you're messing with your brain chemistry, you're messing with your brain chemistry. Right.
I would think you have that slightly wrong. I don't think you've looked into it deeply enough. I study these all the research very closely, and it doesn't seem to reflect what you're trying to depict here.
So, do you not think that you're radically shifting your brain chemistry when you take psychedelics?
Of course you are. That's the entire point.
And so
that's the entire point of shifting your whole perspective from atheism to a theistic perspective. Is shifting your perspective.
So that's interesting. I would absolutely challenge you. I would
challenge you.
Yeah, in my experience, people who take psychedelics regularly, even spiritually, I've never interacted with people who have said it'll turn you into a theist.
So basically, what you're
I've
telling me is you'd never be.
I've talked to a
willing
whole
to
lot
take
more
your own
people
dose.
who believe in aliens, who talk about, you know, interacting with aliens.
I'm not interested in what you would people you're talking. I'm interested whether you'd be
Well, Jimmy,
willing to take a heroic dose.
I'm interacting with you honestly and openly. I'm telling you what my experiences are that have led me to this point. I'm trying to contextualize why my answers are what they are.
I understand that.
Because
we've spoken to before, Eric.
Yeah.
You know, you don't have to tell me that. I
actually,
understand that.
Actually, Jimmy, I do, because not everyone who's watching was there when you called last time. And I want people to join us on this journey.
Well,
So
be patient. I want to skip over the fluff. That's all. I
gotcha.
You know, I don't want to go into
I gotcha.
This and that.
I think that if I do take a massive dose of a psychedelic, I would do it under the context of not of knowing that I'm going to see and smell and, you know, interact with things that don't have a correlation with reality, because I will be messing with my brain's ability to interact with reality.
You know, I don't know why you would make that assumption. I think you're having these preconceived notions because, you know, no volunteer in these studies, you know, says that, okay, I know I'm about to take this, you know, high dose. I'm not going to be peering into the essence of reality. No one prepares themselves that way. They prepare themselves in a sense that they don't know what they're going to get. They may be glimpsed to the utmost, you know, profound reality. You know, I don't think you can say whether you're going to, you know, oh, I know for a fact that I'm just going to, you know, experience this faux reality. Like, it doesn't occur in that fashion.
No, when I took it, I was deeply trying to connect to what I thought was a collective unconscious, you know, or not unconscious, a collective subconscious. I was hoping.
A la Carl Jung, or how do you mean that?
Yeah. So when I was kind of at a point where I was no longer a Christian, but I was not yet an atheist. And I was trying to find a place for God. And what I had done is I'd gotten to a point where I was now redefining God. Maybe God is the universe experiencing itself, you know, that kind of thing. You know, or maybe there is a psychic telepathic link that all humans have on Earth that they're using to interact with each other so that they can communicate their emotions and needs, and that the progress or decline of society happened collectively in this kind of pseudo psychic unconscious that permeated the world. That kind of was what my hope was. That's what my thought was. And so when I was taking psychedelics, that was my goal, was to connect with that.
Well, I don't think you should have any intention. I think if you have an intention, it shows a kind of like bias towards what you think you're going to experience when you don't know exactly what you're going to experience at all.
So I think that if you're going to take psychedelics, you should have the right to approach it however you want to. Like,
no, I absolutely agree with you, Eric.
Okay, so I don't think I was doing it a wrong way.
Well, you did do it in such a way that you went for a subthreshold dose. You know, if you were going to go, okay, let's say you went through the channels of Johns Hopkins, they would recruit you as their volunteer. They would have professional standby, so make sure nothing happens to you.
Yeah, having a sitter is incredibly important.
Sure. Yeah, no, it's definitely important. That's why I mentioned it.
Yeah.
And they would have, but at the same time, aside from having the professional standby to make sure you're okay, they would also be dosing you with a dose that you've probably never done before, what they call the heroic dose. This is what they experiment with. You know, this is what they give their volunteers. And you can even sign up today if you wanted to. You know, you can sign up to Johns Hopkins today for a heroic dose if you had the nerve, the balls to do it. And that's what I'm asking you.
Jimmy, I just told you
Go ahead.
Yeah, I just told you I potentially am genetically predisposed to suffering psychological injury. Right?
Is that an excuse? or is
that right there is sad, because that's something that I would like to do, but that is me being honest with you. And so I do want to give you the opportunity.
I respect that.
I do want to give you the opportunity.
I respect that, Eric, but I respect that.
Because that has nothing to do with balls, right? That is just...
Well, okay, well, wait a minute. Hold on. Wait a second. Don't just dismiss it outright. I respect that. But it doesn't, at the same time, the entire point is the heroic dose. And if you always give yourself an excuse, well, I don't think, I think I might be a subtle schizophrenic, and therefore I wouldn't apply, I wouldn't adhere to these studies, then, you're making an eternal excuse.
I've got to tell you that it's the rhetoric you're using is one that I think can be dangerous. I think that the point that you're trying to make, I think, is being hindered by what you're saying right now. Because I'm not...
Maybe so. You could be right, but at the same time, we won't be able to tell.
Go on. I didn't mean to interrupt. There's obviously a delay, and so we're both jumping in and talking over each other at the beginning. Go ahead, Jimmy. Uh-oh. Oh no. It says that Jimmy's still on the line, but I cannot hear them. Shit. Well, Jimmy, I'm gonna try and pick this up and kind of finish out this bit. But I appreciate you calling. All right, I'm dropping Jimmy, and I'll speak to this. So I do think that messing with your brain chemistry can be fun. It's the same reason some people smoke weed, the same reason other people drink, or it's fun. But I don't think that it gives you access to understanding about the world in a better way. If you're messing with the way your brain is processing information, you should not trust that more. In fact, I think that anything that you experience while you're under the influence of, some major psychedelic needs to be signposted with, this is what happened when my brain was on drugs. I think that more could make me liable as a public figure, and so I'm going to put the rest of that down. But it is what it is. It is what it is. All right, let's move on and talk to Alice in Oregon. Looks like it's feeling like I'm getting a lot of people from the Pacific Northwest, which is really, really fun. Alice, you are live.
Hello, everybody.
Hey, okay, I'm glad that we can hear you. That means that that means that what happened wasn't a technical issue. So I appreciate you. What did you want to talk about today?
Well, first of all, welcome to Portland. Very excited to have you here.
Thank you.
Yeah. I was one of the people that met you at that meet and greet you had before you moved here.
Hey, nice.
Yeah. So, welcome. Glad you're here.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Before I jump into my topic, I just want to take a second to reflect on the last caller. Long ago, when I was studying all kinds of religions and whatnot, I happened to get to see Houston Smith, who wrote The History of Religions, and he was a big-time speaker. He was with Timothy Leary back in the 60s with the LSD stuff. And when he talked about LSD and mushrooms, the quote that stuck with me was, "It's not about altered states, it's about altered traits." And so that helped me when I started playing around with taking LSD and mushrooms, I'm going to have fun, but I'm also going to allow this to make me be a better person. So that's just my 2 cents there.
If it can, absolutely. But yeah, it's, I don't know. There are lots of ways for us to mess with our brain chemistry, and it feels like if it feels good enough, people want it to be somehow more real than the reality that we're in. You know?
Oh yeah, that's
and
that's a problem.
Well, and it's interesting. There are a lot of non-believers I've spoken to before who, you know, they're used to coming from church, and when everyone is singing and there's like this big kind of group thing, you get goosebumps and you just get this euphoric feeling. And I remember as a kid looking at my mom and saying, "Mom, what is this feeling?" You know, and she said, "That's the presence of the Holy Spirit." And so I thought, oh, this is God in the room with us. And that was really, really profound. And then I went to a concert.
I was going to say, yeah.
And let me tell you something. The LA Philharmonic, holy shit. Number one, if anybody is on the West Coast and gets to go see Gustavo Dudamel, he's got the same hair as me, better than me when it comes to the hair. Just beautiful hair game, but also like just incredibly talented. You know, the incredibly talented musicians there who will just draw you to tears and have drawn me to tears. And I thought, is God in this room with us too? And it is us learning what pushes those buttons. And it doesn't mean that we're necessarily learning some psychic spiritual thing as much as us learning how to make ourselves feel good. And so, I don't know, recognizing it as that, I feel like some people think that it's less valuable if you don't give it spiritual, psychic qualities, that it's somehow less beautiful. And I think that's sad, because it's truly a beautiful thing. It doesn't need to have any extra stuff tacked onto it in order for it to qualify as important or valuable. I don't know. Just me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I'm probably repeating myself, but you wanted to talk about atheist holidays.
Yeah. When I saw the topic before the show started, I went to the Google and found out that World Atheist Day was the 23rd, but so maybe next year I'll remember that. But the Day of Reason is the first Thursday in May, and this year it's a Wednesday, literally, Thursday. And the reason why I got excited about learning about that is a couple of things. That, you know, it's the American Humanist Association that managed to get this done. It was in reaction to the National Day of Prayer. And so that part of it, so part of that was just saying, hey, wait a minute, you know, you're breaking the Constitution, so we're going to, you know, Day of Reason. And so that attracted me, because anytime we can say, hey, knock it off, is good.
Yeah.
And and then they also call for donating blood and doing food drives. So that's a little shout out to everybody, is to think about maybe some blood donation, donating food to your local pantry, that sort of thing. And then the other general thing that I got out of it was the difference between an atheist day and this Day of Reason with humanists and skeptics is the inclusion of that. And I mean, your show shows how there are religious people who are humanists and are open, and that inclusivity and all of that. So
yeah, I sincerely appreciate that. It's funny that you look up World Atheist Day and you say that it was on the 23rd. It's actually relatively new. I actually did the voiceover for the first ad that World Atheist Day did.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah, it was put on by Atheist Republic, and the first one, we had a really big event in Austin, and I did the voiceover for the commercial.
I remember. I almost bought a ticket to Austin.
It was a really good time. I don't know. I think that, like, just because I've been there, I've seen that there does feel like there's an argument. You know, we're all trying to create a day that atheists, skeptics, non-believers can, you know, pick as theirs. I also, so you said AHA, American Humanist Association, has theirs. Secular Student Alliance also has theirs. And we're all just kind of trying to, so I don't know if we're ever actually going to have a day that we all settle on, because trying to get atheists to agree on anything is like herding cats. It is just so
Right.
difficult. Oh yeah, because there's so many of us who take pride in the fact that we don't want to go along with whatever's, you know, being given to us. That it feels like there are a lot of atheists, especially online, who pride themselves on disagreeing and will look for reasons to disagree. And
Yeah.
that's one of them. So I don't know if we're ever going to get there. Instead, I guess the more the merrier is my
I
response.
was just gonna.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. Maybe it's better to have more, because then we can just celebrate throughout the year.
Yeah,
You know?
absolutely. And also, I think that there are so many disparate atheist communities, because just because you came to the God conclusion doesn't mean you believe in everything else. But I've talked to plenty of atheists who are far left, some who are really, really conservative. You know, there's the dude bro kind of, what's it called? The manosphere atheist.
Oh, right.
Right? Maybe they could pick a day that works for them, and then I don't need to go. You know, like maybe they could just find and create their communities, and that could be better. That could be better. I definitely
Exactly.
don't need to have community with every single atheist, because I don't agree with every single atheist on everything.
Oh, right. Yeah. Who does, right?
I feel like a lot of people who leave their religion are hoping for the kind of solidarity that they felt when they called themselves Judeo-Christian and had every version of Christianity behind them, you know?
Yeah.
You could be a Southern Baptist, and when you said that you were fighting for a Christian issue, you were roping in Catholics and Methodists, Presbyterians. You were roping in just all of them. And atheists don't do that. And I think that it's difficult because we're not able to work as a unified voting bloc because of that. But I don't know how we're going to solve it.
Yeah, it's a good point. I guess that's why it's important to, find, your own little communities, because that, again, too, it's nice to, like you say, have a voting block. And then also there's just power in spreading locally, that whole, think globally, act locally. There's a lot of
I like that.
power in that.
Yeah, I agree. Maybe we should do something in Oregon. I feel like there are enough.
I was just going to say.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, yeah, I sent you an email, and was kind of on that note, to connect. Now that you're here.
I appreciate that. I have been a shut-in, and I really need to get out.
Me too.
I've been in I've been in Portland for a year, and I have not gone out to actually connect with people. So it's something that I need to do. I think I just got really socially burned out from when I was in Texas.
Oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
With the weather, it's weather, we can meet in parks and.
Yeah, it's been.
Get into nature.
It's been like 5 years. I think it's about time for me to take those steps. So, stay tuned. I'm gonna try. I promise.
Okay. Yeah. So my email says Alice from the Portland Meet and Greet. If that helps you.
Thank you. I'll check the email.
So, yeah, thank you. I appreciate that, and I appreciate this conversation. I appreciate you and V and everybody else in the business of these kind of shows. It's a wonderful thing that the internet has given us. And to end with some humor, today I celebrate half-price chocolate Eve.
Ooh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right?
Oh,
Stores would be full of,
I think I think I was
Easter.
I think I was 24 or 25. It was 2 days after Easter, and the local Walgreens was selling cases of Cadbury cream eggs for,
Oh my gosh.
like, I want to say they were like 15 cents a pop.
Oh my gosh.
And I bought a case of them.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever had a lower self-esteem than when less than a month later I had finished that case. I was like, oh, this will get me going through next year. It didn't get me through a month. And I did not like the person in the mirror after that. So ever since then, I've been a little bit more careful, but I absolutely feel you on that. You're right.
No, be kind to yourself.
Will do. You too. Alice, thank you for calling.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care. Okay, I think I'm going to take one more call. And let's move on and grab Evan in Washington. Wow, it is Pacific Northwest Day. That's kind of amazing. Evan.
It's me again.
Hey.
Well, when I called back in the second time, it was only 30 minutes in, and you were worried about, the show closing early. So I was like, no, sir.
Oh,
I will call back.
I really appreciate that. Let's actually put a pin in that one. So wanting to talk about your deconversion, I know that a lot of people kind of zone out when it comes to deconversion stories. But
no, that's actually not what I wanted to talk about.
Oh, I misunderstood the notes.
Deconversion.
Got it. What did you want to talk about?
It's not so much deconversion, and I'll let you decide, but let me present.
Sure.
So here's what I see in your show, right? Is that you're not the angry atheist show. Okay.
Yeah. Not so much.
In my opinion, not that you don't have a backbone, certainly, but which is kind of what drew me to your show, and was anxious for you to come back, waiting. So what my thought was is I've been thinking for about 10 years the wrong question, which is why I am no longer a believer in God, why I'm not theist anymore, right? Mm-hmm. And the right question, I think, is actually why I am an atheist, which for me was just that when I stopped believing in God, I found myself and was able to engage with the world better. And today might not be the right time to explore that dynamic, but you tend to kind of see that fruit in the way you present your show, at least.
I try, because often emails that I will get are from people who are saying, I realize I'm no longer a believer and I feel like I've lost myself. And right. So finding yourself is a really, really powerful conversation. And I think I need to be in the headspace for it.
Okay.
But so, I really appreciate it.
More of a, okay. Well, next time, if we do have a next time, it would be more of a reconversion, but not to God, but to yourself. And that's kind of a different walk.
I like that.
It's not about deconversion anymore.
Yeah. Let me get in the headspace for it. But
absolutely. Thank you.
I really appreciate it, and I appreciate you calling. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.
That was really sweet. All right. So I don't know about y'all, but I have a pork shoulder that has been on the grill for 16 and a half hours, and I am dying to pull that off the grill. This has been really, really nice. I know that it's been a chill day, and I'm totally okay with that. I think that things have kind of slowed down to the point where I would rather pack up early. It's been an hour and a half. I've always, my initial thought was always that the show would be an hour and a half, so this is just fine. This is normally the time where I read out super chats, but it looks like we don't have any super chats today, and that is totally okay. If you do want to support the show, the best way to do it is on Patreon, patreon.com/skepticgeneration. And any support is seriously appreciated. For those people who are patrons, I missed a few charges from this month, so I'm going to put those through today, so just be ready. I do charge per episode, not per clip, but just per episode. And yeah, it's sincerely appreciated. We're almost to the point where we're almost even on costs for the show, and that is a really, really big step. So I'm really, really grateful. That said, happy Trans Day of Visibility. Happy Easter if you celebrate it. Happy April Fools tomorrow. Don't be too mean to others. And thank you so much for joining me. Until next time, I'm Eric Murphy, and I'm glad we had this talk. Oh, and Discord. I'm gonna hop on the Discord. We're gonna do an after show. All right, bye everybody.